Imagine it's January 2026 and the Chicago Bears are primed for a playoff run. What would have to have gone right? I'm Justin Onayemi. With me is Bob Weiss, and we will break that down on this episode of the Halas Huddle.
Huddle up. This is the first of 2 episodes where we'll break down potential outcomes for the 2025 season. Make sure you comment on this video and the next one on Wednesday where we'll break down a worst case scenario, and Justin and I will pick out our favorites and use them in an upcoming News and Noise episode on Friday.
I think this is the part that I'm going to enjoy recording a little more, Bobo, but we're going to start with some positives. So if this season is going to go as well as it can go, like I said in the intro, we're talking playoffs. The big thing I think we need to see is that the Ben Johnson effect is real. What do you think that means, Bob? What's that look like?
First, it looks like sensible offense, right? It's a real running game. It's play action off the running game, and it's using weapons to their advantage, right? We have lots and lots of skill on this team, and it hasn't always been used to the top of that ability. And of course, at the center of it all is going to be Caleb Williams, right? So first and foremost, Caleb Williams needs to take that year 2 jump.
There's going to be a future episode, I'm teasing it now, where we go really deep on Caleb Williams and what his future can look like. People have been far too hard on what he did his rookie year. And there's a comparison that I will draw out at some point about Jared Goff, but it's not just that Jared Goff was with Ben Johnson. It's if you look at his rookie year, and it was much, much worse than Caleb Williams, I'll say that. Year 2, he gets Sean McVay. He gets Matt LaFleur as an OC. And by the way, Matt LaFleur, brand new OC. So it's kind of like Declan Doyle, with McVay being the mastermind behind it all. But the jump was real. And Caleb Williams, in my opinion, has even better tools. So part of Ben Johnson's effect being real, the huge thing we're looking at is Caleb Williams, taking a big leap in year 2 statistically, but really with wins, this is the time. It has to start showing up in the win column. I think Rome Odunze would end up being a part of that too. So what do you got on Rome Odunze?
Yeah, if the Bears are going to make a playoff push, right, Rome Odunze needs to be a top 10 type receiver, right? Like when we did our biggest blunders episode, right, we went through a list of top 10 wide receivers when we were singling out Kevin White, but it is a list and the list of Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer after Hall of Famer, right? And I'm not saying Rome Odunze has to be a Hall of Famer, but he's got to step up and be the man, right? And the way we're kind of framing this episode is if we're in January, we're at the top of the division, prime for a playoff push. What we're going to see from Rome Odunze is that 80 to 90 catch season, 1,200 yards, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns, a legitimate number 1 option, a legitimate number 1 weapon in the NFL. And Rome Odunze has the talent, right? Coming out, I remember there was some scouting analytic type website that said he was the top of their scouting boards that they'd ever seen, right? So he's got that talent, he's got that ability, he had that production in college. And I just think with a real offense, with a quarterback who's making a year 2 leap, you get your top 10 wide receiver who makes that leap as well.
And he's just one of many weapons you're hoping is going. So if you have that type of season and that type of production out of Odunze, but you have DJ Moore also producing at a high level, I don't want to put this out there. We'll wait for the bad episode, I guess, but not pouting about losing touches to other guys. We got to talk about Colston Loveland. We got to talk about Luther Burden. Now, we've talked on this show that it's disappointing that they did not get reps. I mean, Burden got a few. Loveland got absolutely no reps at this point in the offseason programming. But we're hoping in this best case scenario, they're going to look like rookies at times, kind of like Caleb and Odunze did. But with Ben Johnson, with running a smooth professional offense, these guys should be producing too. And I didn't even mention Cole Kmet, and I didn't even mention DeAndre Swift. So there are lots of weapons. We want to see Ben Johnson use them to the fullest.
Yeah, and I kind of want to single out Colston Loveland a little bit here because we know that this is obviously a hand-picked selection by Ben Johnson to get his Sam Laporta-esque tight end, right? So again, we're in January. We're making a playoff push. That means Colston Loveland probably had that, 60 to 70 catch season with 800 yards and a handful of touchdowns himself, right? So this is just everything, all-encompassing, sensible offense that makes sense, that's executed, relatively penalty-free. And then you have a year 2 quarterback making his leap with your elite wide receiver weapon making a leap and your new tight end. Like all that comes together and you're scoring in the top, 10, 12 of the NFL, right? And it's all looking like it's coming together.
My giddy smile is that it sounds very wonderful, but it also sounds like it could happen. Awesome. I don't know. I at least feel it right now.
Now we're living in best case outcome right now, right? So that's where we're living in this episode right now, but there is a plausible path to get there. And then so it won't just be offense, right? There is a defensive coordinator that we're all excited about. He's got tons of experience as both a defensive coordinator and a head coach. So again, if we are in January, we make a playoff push, Dennis Allen will have full control of this defense. He's going to do everything that Ben Johnson needs him to do to just take defense off of Ben's plate, and he can focus on everything he needs to do. And this defense is up and running.
There are playmakers on that defense. I mean, for parts of last season, even as abysmal as it was, they look like they could play defense. And we always know Eberflus was a defensive-minded guy. You bring in a former head coach, but one who's not going anywhere. This is not an audition that Dennis Allen is on to get the next hot job. He can come in, run a high-pressure defense. When you know you have a potent offense, what's the best thing you could pair that with? A dominating, rush at quarterback, get turnovers kind of defense. And he's done this at other stops. So, again, it's talking as best case scenario, but it's not saying something that cannot happen. You want to see Jalen Johnson following number 1 receivers and shutting them down. You want to see Tyreek Stevenson forget about the ridiculous things he did last season. This is a new regime. You want to see him in press coverage, getting more picks than he's ever gotten. I'd love to see Tremaine Edmonds bounce back from, let's be honest, subpar performances over the first 2 years of a big contract. We're going to talk specifically about a unit, as you can see in a little bit here. But we're excited about the depth of some parts of the D-line and Dennis Allen knowing how to use that to the fullest. So I love the defense because it's the Bears, but it's DA. It's Dennis Allen.
Absolutely. And you highlight Tremaine Edmonds a little bit. And what do we know about what Dennis Allen's tried to bring in on this defense, right? We used a 4th-round pick on a linebacker who wasn't even projected to get drafted simply because of speed. If Tremaine Edmonds is nothing else, he is at least fast. So if Dennis Allen's scheme is like, just be fast and I'll get you in the right spot, then maybe Tremaine Edmonds is going to jump in and make an impact. Another guy you didn't mention, which I thought you might, was Kyler Gordon, right? This is a guy who at any given time can be the best player on the field on defense, right? And if Dennis Allen is able to get Kyler Gordon in positions to make plays, I think you can have a special season, high level of turnovers with, he's the type of guy who can make multiple touchdown plays as well. So if this is what we're talking about with Dennis Allen, I think that's what we're going to see.
Rob's not here. You can say it. Ruben Hippolyte.
Sorry. It still seems like a swear word, but that's fine. Maybe he'll make an impact. He's probably the number 1 guy I'm most excited to watch in the preseason.
I'd love it.
How does he look on the field,
So I didn't want to tease D-line too much, but with the additions of Dio and the additions of Grady Jarrett, and hopefully seeing something out of guys like Booker, who you drafted last year, if we're talking best case scenario, those new additions are going to make an impact. Now, I have some concerns about this one. This is the first one on the list where I'm not feeling like, oh, this is a given. When I said they had depth on the D-line, I'm talking interior. I like the rotation they have with Jarrett, with Dexter, hopefully a healthy Billings. I'm a little more hesitant on the ends, but this is what training camp's for. Let's see it with the pads. Let's see what it's going to look like. But in best case scenario, Montez Sweat is looking a little bit more like 2023 Montez Sweat than 2024.
Yeah, we're living in January where we're making a playoff push, right? So that means Dio Adeyembo has made his impact. He's probably an 8 to 10 digit sack guy, making a push from the inside on 3rd downs, doing his thing on the outside on early downs. And you got, the push up the middle with Grady Jarrett, Shamar Stewart, make that mistake every time. Shamar Turner coming in, making an impact up and down the line. And you must get one of Austin Booker or Dominique Robinson to be a player So again, if there's a playoff push, that means I promise you this defensive line has stepped up the way we hope they can. And, we'll see what happens in January.
Well, and maybe some of it is due to good press coverage by the solid corners we mentioned. So it is a team type of focus, but one level of concern for me coming in is the D-line, but they're going to do it.
As you said, Rob isn't here, so it'd be remiss if we did not mention the Gervon Dexter breakout season coming on the same tier as Jalen Carter, being a legitimate top 10 defensive tackle in the NFL. And that's still within the realm of possibilities, right? I honestly think that's maybe more likely in the realm of possibilities than, maybe an Austin Booker steps up into a double-digit sack type of guy. So we'll just see how that happens, how that plays out.
This was me imitating Rob in the comments if we didn't add in Gervon Dexter.
We got you, Rob. We got you. Don't worry. And so kind of maybe the last thing that if this is a run to the playoffs for the Bears, I think we got to mention the rest of the division in that, they were all playoff teams last year, right? So they're not going to be 4 playoff teams from the same division. So something else is going to have to happen in the NFC North. And I think there's plausible ways to think that these other teams are going to take step backs this year.
There's a lot of people that are hyper focused on the effect, including us, that Ben Johnson can have on the Bears. What about the effect he's going to have on Detroit? Mm-hmm. They lose him. They lose Aaron Glenn. They lose both their coordinators in one offseason. They hopefully have a good system in place, and that's why teams wanted to pluck away their guys. But that could be a significant loss. You got Minnesota. They're turning the ball over. Not turning the ball over. Well, let's hope they are, especially in week 1. But they're handing the ball over to a basically rookie quarterback in J.J. McCarthy. And we're what? 14-3 last year or 13-4?
It was a big record. They had near MVP quarterback play for Sam Darnold. They're probably not going to get that again.
They probably won't. And so at Packers, Green
Bay is probably the one team where there's not a real thing you point at and see why will they be worse than they were last year. They'll probably be the same, maybe better because they're kind of young. So that's okay. There's going to be some competition. That's fine.
Right. But the other 2 top teams, I think they will take a step back. And part of that should be the Bears being a better team. They played their division close, tough. Could have beat the Packers twice. Should have beat Detroit, on Thanksgiving Day, as we know in the blunder episode. We talked about that at length. So if the Bears are playing better, that automatically makes this a tougher division. And I just don't know that those 2 teams we mentioned in Detroit and Minnesota can put out the type of performance they had last year. Let's hope not. In best case scenario.
You make a great point with, as much as we're hoping Ben Johnson adds to us, it's going to take away from Detroit. And you got to remember Aaron Glenn left too, but Aaron Glenn also took a lot of offensive staff with him to the Jets. Right. So the Lions offensive staff is completely just depleted. I don't even know who's there anymore. I know the offensive line coach stayed, so that's still a big piece of continuity, but we're just going to have to see, Jared Goff, how much of Jared Goff's performance and near MVP level performance is because of Ben Johnson, then how much is just because of the weapons and the environment with Dan Campbell and stuff. I think there's a lot of questions to be had there. And we'll just see it. So 2 or 3 fewer wins for the Lions, maybe 2 or 3, 4 fewer losses for Minnesota. And that just adds up to maybe 2 more wins for the Bears and some other wins elsewhere. And there you go. That's how you're talking the playoffs.
Love it. So we just called it here, guys. Halas Huddle just said it. January comes, the Bears are going to be in the playoffs. Unless you watch part 2.
Don't put that on us. If these things happen, the Bears will be in the playoffs. But yeah, guys, make sure you comment. We love hearing your comments, and especially if you don't agree with us. Those are our favorite ones. It's okay to debate. You see our show enough. We don't even agree with each other all the time, right? So put your comments out there. Let us know what you think. What are we way off on this episode? What did we forget to mention in this episode? And we just love to see it. And hopefully we get some good debate out of it for an episode that we're going to do on Friday.
All right. See us in part 2. Bear down.
Claws up.
Ready, break.